Blog Talk Radio.
Gentlemen, it's 2016 and the Metal Hammer of Doom is back. Yes, a new year of metal goodness, reviewing albums, looking back at careers, celebrating some of our favorite musicians. It's funny, I actually just did this with David Bowie, but that doesn't really fit into the whole metal thing. But anyway, I am your host, the mandated reporter, and frankly, I'm mortified, Mr. Mark Radulich. And my 2016 metal goal this year is to not fall asleep during a podcast. Yes, I have high hopes and big dreams. But here's a man who's going to join me tonight. He's my co-host with the most, and it's his show tonight, as a matter of fact. 2016 is going to be the year of Robert Cooper. That's right. I'm giving him the reins of the show. I'm not walking away. I'm just saying, instead of being the Nazi leader that I was in 2015, I'm going to let Robert Cooper lead a few of these little dances and dictate what we're doing, at least for tonight. And so tonight, folks, Robert Cooper is going to be bringing you the Killswitch Engage Retrospective. What do you think about that, Robert Cooper?
I think that I had way too many songs uploaded. To cut a whole lot out, but god damn it, am I not super duper excited and serious. That's I'm psyched because this has been one of my favorite bands since I was about 16, which I think Mark was about 30 at that time, so I had to do that one. But yeah, it's pretty much been one of my favorite metal bands since I got into metal. So yeah, there will be lots and lots of talking about this band and what I know about this band, and yeah, I'll just all the love.
It's this is a first for us because the retrospectives that I have selected for us to do were some of my favorite bands that I grew up with, bands that were important to me in my forming of musical tastes and interests. We've done Pantera, we've done Slayer, we've done Clutch, we did Megadeth. That was one that you picked, but even that one was one that was part of my metal upbringing as such. This is going to be the first time we're doing a very modern band. Killswitch Engage came on the scene in 2000, and I know for me that was sort of the second coming of my metal awakening. In 2000, I had a friend that worked for a record company. He was a seller, I think, or a buyer for a distributor or whatever it was. He worked for Caroline Records. Let's put it that way. And he got me into that wave of metal that came out in the 2000s. And Killswitch Engage was one of those bands. Two of the other big ones that he got me into were Soilwork and Shadows Fall. Of course, around that time, Slipknot would come out, and there would be Chimera would be another band that I would get into. I never really got into Trivium or Unearth, but I got a little bit into God Forbid. I tend to stay away from the American metal scene, even though I just named a couple of bands that were part of that wave of metal. I tended to favor the more In Flames, Children of Bodom, European side of things. So what's been nice about doing this retrospective and getting prepared for it is going back and listening to all these old Killswitch songs that I didn't really pay a whole lot of attention to when they first hit the scene. But this is your show, Robert, so why Killswitch Engage?
I think initially what got me, at least the band in my head, was, of course, wrestling. Funny how that always seems to do the trick. I think it was about 2006. It was a combination of CM Punk's new theme song, which I think he debuted that in 2006, if I'm not mistaken. But, This Fire Burns. And CM Punk was my favorite wrestler for years. And, well, now my favorite wrestlers are Japanese because, well, CM Punk kind of is a tool. And, well, he's a great wrestler. He's a tool. It's really funny. It's like I'm a huge wrestling fan, but like my favorite wrestler kind of floats. I'm not one of those like Ultimate Warrior favorite wrestler. I'm like I just kind of enjoy the matches. But I mean,
feel like
CM Punk.
Feel like that was a dig at me.
Oh no, it wasn't.
Ultimate Warrior is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, right?
Well, yeah, but I mean, you did practically defend the guy in a podcast. But I was using him as an example. I could have said Hulk Hogan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was just saying that. I was just saying that. I was never one of those that. I've not always had a favorite wrestler. Like right now, I do, and I have, but I don't always have one. If that makes sense. But their theme song, "The Fire Burns," was actually originally for Randy Orton and was used for like a week, and then they gave it to Punk, which is really funny, because now Randy Orton has horses in his shed, and they talk to him and they understand. So it was a combination of that. The Arms of Sorrow video was really big on Fuse, which was a music station that actually used to play some metal and hard rock in their first 2 years of being around. And they kind of still had that fun sort of independent sort of spirit that you see from like an early MTV. Like a lot of those newer music stations they always are like, yeah, we're going to play music that you don't really hear anymore. We're actually going to play music. We're going to do something different, and then give it about 3 years, and they're playing reality shows and having, just your typical pop music guests. Funny how that always works out. But, the Arms of Sorrow was on a pretty heavy rotation on their voter-requested shows. So I got to listen to that a lot. And then the Holy Diver cover came out, and I was like, I must listen to this on MySpace on a loop. And that I did. That's right. That was my fucking song on MySpace for years, until MySpace became, no longer in vogue.
Passe.
There we go. It went passe. So I think I used the right terminology. It's just I think there were better ones available. But yeah. So those three things really kind of introduced me to Killswitch Engage, and that was at a perfect time because right around then, which was around my sophomore year of high school, was right when I start digging in really deep into Metallica and Megadeth and Anthrax and pretty much the big four of thrash metal, digging in deeper into their discographies. And upon digging in there, I started to find that I liked other genres of metal as well, started getting into Cannibal Corpse and death metal and some of the traditional heavy metal, and of course metalcore, which is technically what you would call Killswitch Engage. So I got the A Daylight Dies special edition album for Christmas in 2006, and I practically wore the tires off that thing. This was at a time where I think this is really going to say a lot about me as a person technologically. For about 2.5 years, I carried around a CD player and CD case on the bus with me at school. And I would listen to, like, the same, like, 15 CDs on a loop or something.
You're like the white Southern Radio Raheem.
I pretty much am, yeah. Like, by the end of it, I was using a 1999 CD player that took 4 AA batteries because mine broke until a friend was like, "Hey, I got this old one, you can have it," and I still keep it around. But
I don't remember the year I got. Hang on, I don't remember the year I got my first iPod, but I do. I had to have been in grad school because I went to school in the city, New York City.
I had an iPod. It was 512 megabytes, and I lost it in about 2 months. It had 3 songs on it. I'm sorry.
I just remember I uploaded all this music, all this heavy metal onto my iPod. You know, the old one with the clicking wheel and all of that. And I remember just like, you know, my commute to school, my commute to grad school, you know, had a soundtrack to it.
Yeah.
And it was,
definitely. I know those days. But the one thing I will say that even though it was a big pain in the ass to have all that stuff being lugged around, it really helped you keep really close to the music that you have. It's not like now where I have the internet and about 200-something CDs sitting in front of me. I had a very small stack and a few burnt CDs that I would just kind of listen to on repeat, and you get really close to the music doing that. You know, becomes almost a part of you to a degree. So listening to As Daylight Dies, and then I went and bought The End of Heartache and Alive or Just Breathing, and it wore the tires off those, and, you know, as it keeps going on, bought the self-titled one, and kind of the rest was history. Started getting into As I Lay Dying, All That Remains. Actually, I think that was about it. I didn't really get much into Shadows Fall until, actually, I like Shadows Fall more now than I did then. As well as in Flames, so it's early In Flames, new In Flames, kind of poopy, just like JBL. JBL is poopy.
So like I said, from 2001 roughly until about 2005, that was like the second wave metal years for me, and like I said, I paid a lot more attention to Soilwork and Shadows Fall than I did Killswitch Engage. So going back and getting prepared for this podcast was really the first time I got to listen to most of the albums that basically weren't the End of Heartache. And I knew the End of Heartache because of Rose of Sharon, and who doesn't? And I loved Rose of Sharon. That made it onto a lot of workout mixes. But that was the only album by the band that I knew. I knew that CM Punk was coming out. You know, I knew he had a new song and everything, but Fuck Me Running, I had no idea it was Killswitch Engage. So this has been a very educational experience preparing for this podcast. Let's get into it. We have 2 hours blocked out for this, plus whatever time Blog Talk allows us to do post recording, which I don't want to go too far because we keep getting cut off. Let's start with Killswitch Engage's self-titled 2000 album, Killswitch Engage, and I'll tell you how we pick songs for this. I literally listened to all of these albums over the past 2 weeks while I was doing other stuff on YouTube. And if I heard a song that I liked, I sent it to Cooper and said, here, upload this, which is how we ended up with about 30 songs. So what you have left here is the best, how many is it? Is the best 19 songs plus this Fire Burns, which we're going to do tonight. So it's the best. It's the best of the best, folks. It's the best of the best of the best. 19 Killswitch Engage as chosen by myself and Mr. Cooper, and we're going to start tonight with Temple from Within. So that one takes me back. I'm going to let you speak on it in just a minute. But that one totally takes me back to, like, the Roseland and Irving Plaza and hearing a lot of the bands of the time. And it was that combination of melodic singing with, you know, with these crazy breakdowns and that, you know, that hardcore beat, and of course the screaming. It was just this wild combination of different things making up one sound. Especially the breakdowns. I remember we saw one band in concert. My friend remarked, "My God, this is just a series of breakdowns one after another." It was like they just cut out the rest of the song, which I thought was really funny. But yeah, I mean, when I think about what kind of song really sums up that era of music, especially in the early 2000s, 2000 through 2005, that song pretty much does it for me.
Yeah, this was actually the first track off the debut album of the band. Really interesting when you look at how the band was made up. There were actually a bunch of guys from other core bands from around Massachusetts area that were like, you know, their bands kind of broke up or they got kind of pulled into the band, and they're like, oh, fuck it, why not? So this is a really good song, and it's something I'm going to go ahead and bring up now. Two of the songs from this album that we chose for this album are on the next album. So technically we're talking about 5 songs from Alive or Just Breathing as well. And I can't wait to talk about that album. But this song here is, this version of it's a lot more aggressive, I would say. It's actually really different because it had been so long since I'd listened to the original version. It's been about 3 years since I listened to this original. I was like, there is a real difference, because in the Alive or Just Breathing version of it, it has the singing section in the chorus, or towards the chorus, right before it, I think it's that bridge. It doesn't have that echo effect to it. It's much more melodic, and I'll say that the Alive or Just Breathing is actually far more melodic than this album. But I would say that this is more of a barnstormer sort of album. It's just coming out really dirty and grungy and pretty crunchy, nice and heavy. I find this to be a really good song, a nice introduction to the band. You could probably sit someone down and say, want to know how they sounded like when I started? Play that song. You understand.
Okay. Now, in case you're wondering, and why wouldn't you be? We did not just pick the singles. Okay, this is not the best of Killswitch Engage, you know, in terms of, these were the most radio friendly, or these were the singles, or whatever. I literally listened to the albums blind, and just whatever tickled my fancy is what I sent to Robert. And I'm sure he picked whatever ones tickled his fancy, and then had to cut half of them.
We ended up, because he would, I think for the first 2 albums, I think you sent 3 songs. Into Heartache, you had 4, if I'm not mistaken. So you had 3. And then you had 4 for As Daylight Dies, and then 2 for the other. And then I think it was, 2 for the second self-titled, 1 for Times of Grace, and 2 for Disarm the Descent. And I was like, we should have at least 4 per album. You know, I really feel like that'd be a great representation. And after realizing that the list went all the way to the second page, I was like, I'm running on about 3 hours of sleep, and I think Mark is too. I think this is a good idea. So that's why I started hacking things. So actually, I cut out actually a few of your picks and a few mine, but I think we still have the strongest representations. Actually, with this album, I kind of wish I could have picked more, but I kind of went with Vide Infra as my pick for this album, which will be next, because it's actually one of my favorite songs of all time. But there's some great songs on here. Irreversal is a song that was actually recovered again on the End of Heartache Special Edition. Howard Jones actually covered that and Fixation on the Darkness, which is from the next album. It's really interesting to hear him cover Jesse Leach's stuff, because I'll say that Jesse Leach I prefer him over Howard just because I find his lyrics to be, they speak more to me as a person, And thematically, I find them to be really different from what you'll find in a lot of music. But I will say it also helps that I can do his vocals in my car much easier than Howard's. But,
all right, why don't you real quick tell the people what the next track is?
The next track off of this album is the second track off of the debut album, Killswitch Engage's first self-titled album, in fact. The song here called Vide Infra.
I'm cutting things a little short and trying to keep things to about a minute so that we have time to play them all and we don't start having to cram things in here. But I have to say, this is a really classic example of what bands did, I think, during that time, is that they started off really, really heavy and raw and leaned more towards the death metal side of things. And then as they got popular and more mainstream, you got to hear more clean vocals. Slipknot's a really great example of that. Slipknot started very, very rough and raw. And, they had a couple of songs where the vocals were clean, but for the most part, it was really, really heavy stuff. And then I remember there was one album where I started to say, when did Slipknot turn into an emo band? So it wasn't. This had to have been around 2007, or there was a couple of songs on there. I'm just like, oh shoot me, what happened to Slipknot? What's going on here?
Yeah, it was. So Volume 3 is the first, but I really like the first two Slipknot albums. When I got to the verses, I like those singles, and there were like 3 other songs on it that I was like, okay. And the other, 9 tracks, I was like, fuck this. It was bad. Poor Slipknot. Yeah, this album here is another track that they chose to reuse for Oh, I Were Just Breathing. They re-recorded it. And again, it still has that aggression to it. It's still got the blast beats in it with the breakdowns in it. But actually, I would still say on Alive or Just Breathing, it's still slightly more melodic. But the reason why this is still one of my favorite songs of all time is even though the message in it is kind of, I won't say it's necessarily unique, it's one that really resonated with me then, and I feel like it still resonates with me now as a person. The song is pretty much just talking about not judging people, just being good to everybody, not letting anybody get you down, because at the end of the day, they can't take you from you or me from me. You're still yourself. And that's something that really resonates with me. It's kind of being good to people and realizing that at the end of the day, you're still you and they can't take that from you. And I really appreciate that sort of sentiment. And that's, I think a lot of Jesse Leach's lyrics are like that. He has a lot of positivity in his lyrics. And actually, it's really funny because I'm not much for Jesus music, but I think he writes with a lot of Christian ideals in his work, and I just find it really funny that the metal band does a much better job at feeling authentically, I would say authentically Christian than some of your more contemporary bands, which take the Faith Plus One route. I'm sure you remember that route, don't you?
I definitely. I remember the South Park.
Yeah, that's what I was referencing.
Okay.
They just take random songs and put in Jesus.
Right. That was Cartman's band. Okay, and I remember it now. All right, we're going to hear one more track from the self-titled 2000 album. This one is called Soil Burns. I hear that song and all I think is guys fucking bent over in the pit wearing backpacks and, you know, low knit hats just picking up change and mule kicking each other.
That has never been my experience with metal. But
and your experiences are wrong.
Maybe perhaps that's what it is. Perhaps I'm wrong, or rather, I just like to hurt myself instead of get hit by someone else. You know, I just like to headbang until the next morning, to where I can't move my neck, shoulders, or half my back. Yeah,
but,
that was one of my favorite ones.
That is all hardcore all the time. That's a great song.
Yeah, Soilborn is awesome. That's actually been the theme I've used for every one of my wrestlers in the SVR games. Because on the 360, you can import your own music and use it for your wrestlers. So Soilborn has always been my main character's entrance. And actually, a cool thing is right before this, that the song is a prelude, which is about a minute-long intro. And that's another really good wrestling track because it has a nice build to it. And then it just kind of hits that point where all you can do is just headbang because it's really cool. But yeah, to kind of put a cap on this album, Soilborn's a really good song. I feel like it's kind of forgotten. I've not seen it played live. At least, I've never seen them live. The live videos, I haven't seen a live version of it since like 2004, 2003, 2004. It's kind of odd because I feel like it's a really good song, but you are right in that it's a much more of a hardcore song. So perhaps it just doesn't gel with some of the fan base now. But it's still a good song, great album. Rusted Embrace, Irreversible, great songs, and actually a really interesting ending to the album is the instrumental One Last Sunset, which is, I want to say it's I think it's piano. Not quite sure what it is. I mean, it's a piano. I think it's maybe a keyboardy piano. But it's still really awesome. Really well done, and it's a really different sort of ending to an album than what you would expect from a Massachusetts hardcore metal band. That's for sure. But yeah, going from this album here, if I'm not mistaken, Adam D, he moved from the drum kit to the guitars. Because he was originally their drummer, but I think he had some back problems. I know he did later in life, but he moved to the guitar, and they got one of the old drummers from one of their numerous bands to fill in for the album. And I think it's a really good album because they originally had a second guitarist, and then he kind of had a kid. So the things kind of make your music a backseat sort of thing sometimes.
Okay, we're going to move on to the next album here. We mentioned it a few times now because a lot of the previous songs made reappearances. On the 2002 release, Alive or Just Breathing, and you can sort of tell where my head was when I was picking these songs because, again, this is the first track off the album. And it was I believe, one that I picked, and one of the ones I thought was really good. Is that correct? Am I right about that?
No, I picked it.
Okay,
You picked, let's see, My Last Serenade, Just Barely Breathing, and I think, what was the other one you picked?
That doesn't matter because those two we're going to hear.
Yep. Go, people, go.
So forget everything I just said and apply it to Mr. Cooper, who picked the first song off this album. This is Number Days. The time approaches!
This is the voice of the voiceless. We have learned by making choices. After persecution and delusion, we have severed this illusion. To build our foundation on natural elements to preserve life, we will rise in Babylon. Inspiration for the righteousness location from the kingdom will rise, power, but kingdoms fall, just fall, fall. The inspiration for the righteous dislocation from the
Yeah, everything I said about the first album applies to that song. So it's so funny. Like I get a vision in my head, and like I hear it, and I get it. It just keeps taking me back to that era. You know, I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself too much, but what can I say? The early Killswitch Engage is exactly what I was listening to, without realizing I should have been listening to early Killswitch Engage during that era.
Yes, I'm showing you the error of your ways. What do I win?
A shiny nickel.
Yes. And at least it's not the thrifty nickel. Jeez, that paper's always a pain in the ass. Anyways, Numbered Days, I had to pick that because, you only chose 2 tracks off of the Alive or Just Breathing. Tisk. I mean, technically, 2 of the tracks that we picked from the first album ended up on this album, but, potato, tomato, same thing. So, so this track here is, of course, about the walls of Babylon falling down. There you go. That's pretty much what it's about. It's pretty. You listen to the song, you know exactly what it's talking about. But it is one of my favorite things to pop into the CD player. It's one of the CDs in my CD case because yes, kids, while I no longer carry CDs to listen to while I'm on the go, because now I've stolen my mom's iPod with the twisty dial you were talking about.
Oh. Mom
because I have Well, I don't have any iPods anymore. I had a little 2 gigabyte MP3 player that I lost. I had a 32 gigabyte really nice iPod that I sat down at a Best Buy and forgot that I sat it down. Yep. Nice. Had an 8 gigabyte iPod where the button became stuck because it was actually a factory defect. And when I asked a repair place around here, hey, could you fix this? He's like, honestly, it's a really hard fix. The amount you'd be paying to fix that, you just buy another one. I was like, touche, man.
You know what's funny? I'm thinking about my history of iPods now. Like I had the one with the wheel, and then I had I went out and I got I spent all my money and I got whatever the new iPod was that had the most amount of gigabytes you could store on it. My entire collection of albums on my iPod, which was what a project that was. And then it was I went from that one to the iPod that could also play television shows. but again, it had a fairly decent size memory on it. And then it was like I remember I got another one that was it was like the next generation of basically the same thing, and then I never used it, and then it died, and then my iPod subsequently got smaller. Like I got the one that fits on your wrist, and I got a mini, and now I don't have any iPods at all because I have a phone and a Spotify account.
Yeah, see, I don't even have a smartphone, so there you go. Yeah, I have like a knockoff AT&T BlackBerry that has the battery life of my old CD player that took 4 AA's. There you go. iPods. Like I've always wanted to get that 160 gig one that they stopped making years ago, which you can still buy it used. Because I think I could fit my CD collection on it and still have a little bit of room. Because it's a lot of CDs, which I bought more CDs today, by the way. Yay! Just what I fucking needed. I bought a Sodom album, a Fight album, Sabotage album, and Metalocalypse Season 3 for $9. What do I win? A shiny nickel. You're damn right I win a shiny nickel. I'm catching on to this. But yeah, this great opener, great song to listen to in the car. If you're ever at a stoplight and want to scare the shit out of some people, pop that in and just have the time approaches and just everybody's going to wake up.
All right, this next one was actually the second single released from this album and the only single we picked from this album, released in 2002. This is My Last Serenade. Selection process was basically find the album on YouTube, play it, work, and if the song was good enough, I would stop working and start dancing in my office.
That is how all white people do. I want anybody listening that is not a white boy to know that is how white boys pick out their music selection. I will let you know, I've been listening to a friggin' Japanese funk disco band for the past 3 months. Because when I'm bored, I will throw their music on and I will dance like absolutely nobody is watching because it makes me happy. So I think that is a very fair way.
If you dance like Ellen DeGeneres, huh?
Yes, I do.
Just let the rhythm move you.
Yeah, and I'm definitely really, really embarrassing and really, really white. So, but
it's totally true though. Like I would get up, like I'd be sitting there and I'd be like going through charts or whatever, or writing up my evaluations, and like I would hear the song like that, and that's got such a great beat to it, and that's the kind of song that I would want to dance to if I were at a concert. And of course, if you're listening to this, you're like, dance. Does he mean mosh? Stop the podcast. Go on YouTube. Go look at the Step Down video from Sick of It All, and then you'll know what I mean by dancing. and then come back.
You take all of the change out of your pocket, you throw it onto the ground, and you're like, my time has come. And you continue to pick up change for the next 2 minutes.
I know.
You're like, I don't care how much my back hurts. I gotta get in the groove.
I don't care how fat I've gotten. I got to pick up change. I gotta throw a windmill. Get out of my way. Here comes the gorilla.
I don't think Don Quixote would mess with that windmill.
I know I've brought this up before, but anytime I talk about like dancing or hardcore music, I have to bring it up again. Like my friend's ex-girlfriend now, who didn't know that had a name to it, and so she referred to it as picking daisies.
You know, that is not the worst name you could give it. I mean, it's really wimpy and silly.
Well, if you're a girl,
there's a certain charm to it.
Let's say if you're a little girl and you're in there and no one's banging into you, but you're still hunched over and grabbing at imaginary plunder on the floor, why can't it be picking daisies?
Yeah, see, I've not seen many. Well, no, there's still that time I went to Napalm Death and there was that chick in the pit where I was like, she's cute, even though she has half her head shaved. And it's like I told the story of, then I saw another guy with half his head shaved, and I'm like, oh, there's the boyfriend. Like, what do you know? I was right.
And when their heads come together, they form the key of time. In full disclosure, I totally stole that line from Patton Oswalt.
You know, it'd be really funny, like, because they had the same side shaved. What if it was like the Triforce from Legend of Zelda, where like they had a brother, like she had a brother who like the front of his head was shaved back. So you put them all together, and then they create some magical fucking source of fucking magic. God, fucking hardcore kids. They are amusing. They are very amusing.
All right,
so you got cool at metal.
You got anything on My Last Serenade before we move on?
There's a really, really cool version of this that I almost uploaded instead. It's from I don't know if you remember the Roadrunner United project, which was
sure.
thing to celebrate. Yeah. Concert for it.
Well, hang on. No. Now you brought this up. We have to talk about Burn the Witches.
I don't think I've heard Burn the Witches.
It's not called Burn the Witches. It's called In the Fire.
Oh.
But it's I don't want to say it's like King Diamond. Hang on. I'm going to look this up. But yeah, but In the Fire, man, it's fucking awesome. In the Fire.
Actually, I think I have heard it. Because the two that I've listened to the most were The Dagger, which has Howard Jones on vocals, and then Constitution Down, which has Steve DiGiorgio on bass. And if you don't know who Steve DiGiorgio is, go sit down what you're doing and try to figure out how to spell that, then go look it up, because he plays a fretless bass, and he is the man. Oh, like, I want to be that cool when I grow up.
All right, In the Fire. Okay. Check out this lineup, okay? In the Fire features vocals by King Diamond, Matt Heafy from Trivium on lead guitar, Corey Wu from Trivium on rhythm guitar, Mike D'Antonio from Killswitch Engage on bass, and Dave Chavari from El Nino on drums, and it's just the best.
Fucking El Nino. You do not know how many times I've referenced El Nino over this past month, just for everybody to look at me and go, huh? I'm like, yeah, you don't remember El Nino? No. I'm like, nobody else does either. From the Roadrunner United concert, this was after Jesse Leach left the band, which I'll get to that once we finish the next song. He left the band and Howard Jones had taken over. But for this concert, they were both there, so the two of them duetted the My Last Serenade. And it was really cool to hear the both of them doing a song at the same time, live. Because there's a song in the next album, I don't know if I still have it uploaded, but they were on the same song. But it's just really cool to hear it live because it's a really good version of it. And the song is a pretty good song. I would say it was a very good choice for a single. Between that and the, I think the second single they posted, which was, I want to say the next song, which is Like the Lifeless. Those two are really, really catchy songs. I feel like they're songs that will really pull people in, pull a bunch of filthy casuals into my pure-hearted metal.
All right. This next one is our last song from Alive with Just Breathing, and this is more or less the title track of the album. This is Just Barely Breathing. Sorry if it cut us a little odd here. That song takes a little while to get going, but once it does, it's one of the heavier songs I've heard by them. Not a whole lot of melodic singing going on there. Good stuff.
Yeah, I was actually surprised that you picked the song just because it did have that sort of melodic startup to it. I wasn't kind of expecting the one almighty Mark Radulich to have to wait to pick up the change, but yet here he did. It's a really.
I have patience. I can wait for it done.
I had patience once. It was okay. But yeah, there are so many. Honestly, almost every track on this album I could put up on here. Self-Revolution is a great song. I had Life to Lifeless uploaded. Fixation on the Darkness, while it's a bit one note, is a pretty good song to waste some time to. The Howard Jones version is very interesting. To the Sons of Man, the nice 1 minute and 48 second long mosher. The Element of One, fucking amazing. And then Rise Inside is the finale, and it has almost a doomy vibe to it because it's so slow. Like, did you get any sort of vibe from that song, the last song off this album? Had that slow bass start up, the da-na-na-na, da-na-na-na, da-na-na-na. You remember that?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think I was listening to every song with an open mind, and that if I heard something that I really liked, I just like, ooh, that right there. So. Yeah, I got you. But this is by far one of my absolute favorite albums of all time.
It's one of those, along with the other ones like Symbolic by Death, Rest in Peace by Megadeth, Master of Puppets, Ride the Lightning. One of those albums that I can just keep coming back to over and over. Oh, how could I forget Woods 5, Throthenblot 2. You know, those albums that you just keep coming back to, and every time you listen to it, you find yourself not being able to really skip anything. And I feel like that's the sign of just an absolute great album. This album really helped me kind of come into my metal shoes, per se. And actually, before we jump off this album, the special edition to this is actually really good. There's really well done liner notes in it. It's pretty much interviews with the band talking about Jesse Leach leaving. And they, of course, I think they interviewed him for it as well. I know they interviewed him for the live DVD because it comes with a documentary. Because he had him and his wife had a kid, and you know, when you're on the road and you have a kid, it can, of course, depress you. And he started just getting absolutely depressed, was having vocal issues. So he broke up with the band via email. Whoosh. Yeah, I mean, this is 2003, so texting wasn't exactly there. But, yeah, email's a bit harsh. But the interesting thing was they interviewed him. They interviewed Howard Jones, who was, of course, going to be taking over the next album. And a cool little bit of trivia is Phil Labonte of All That Remains actually he auditioned for the part in the band. He didn't get it, but he does have 2 vocal spots in The End of Heartache, and when they were without a singer for a few months, and I think 2012 he took over vocal duties for a few concerts. But yeah, the special edition is great. It's got a version of In the Unblind. I think In the Unblind is I'm not from the original. Give me a hot second. Just give me a hot second. Here we go. Sorry, I'm on Metal Archives. Metal Archives is the best site ever. Just saying. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, In the Unblind is is a nice redo of a song from the first album. When the Balance is Broken is a song I really wish that they would have put on the album. It is stellar. I really liked it. Untitled and Unloved is absolutely great instrumental. It's acoustic, and actually I prefer it a little more than to the one that we had on the album Without a Name, just because Untitled and Unloved is a little longer and a little bit more technical. And of course there's a joke track at the end, so hey, that's fun. But anyways, well, now we can go ahead and finish with Alive or Just Breathing and move on to what I feel like really put Killswitch Engage on the map.
I would say so. This is the first one I ever knew by Killswitch Engage. This is The End of Heartache. We're going to start with a song called Take This Oath. Good one to open up with as far as talking about the album. I think this is one of their most critically acclaimed albums, isn't it? I know, looking at the Wikipedia page, it's got really high marks among all the reviewers. 4 out of 5 stars for AllMusic, 3.5 out of 5 stars for Rolling Stone. For Rock Hard, like 8.5, and then Ultimate Guitar, I think 10.5 stars. So and then on the Billboard chart, it was 21 in the top 200. And in 2004, The End of Heartache, the single, was made it as high as 31. So for this band, I think this was one of the more successful albums.
Yeah, I would say financially it was. I feel like musically, it was a really good album. I feel like it's towards the back half of the catalog for me, though. I mean, that's like picking your favorite child or your favorite Star Wars movie for some people. But it's a good album. It has some really good spots. I feel like songwriting-wise with Howard, they got much better on the next album. But it's still a really good album. I like it quite a bit. This song here, I picked it because this is the one that had Jesse Leach and Howard Jones in the same song. Yeah, that's I don't know if you noticed, but he did the chorus, and then at the end, which you didn't hear, he did the death growls, which makes me happy because I love the death growls. It's overall it was a really good song. I kind of wish I would have thought to add a Bid Farewell, just because that's a great opener. It really kind of perks you up and gets you attentive to the music, because it starts out with the guitars are almost dissonant in a way, but the drums have a real nice heavy pound to them to kind of jerk your senses to attention.
Okay. Okay, let's move on to, I think, this is one of the more popular songs off this album. I know this is the one, like I said earlier, this one made all of my workout mixes. It was their first single released in 2004. This is the big radio friendly hit, folks. This is Rose of Sharon. So, Rose of Sharon. Good stuff, that song. Definitely very, very mainstream, very crowd-pleasing. Even amounts of screaming and singing in that one.
Yeah, dig it. By the way, speaking of chicks, hi, Savannah. Thanks for listening. But, yeah, actually a really interesting thing with this song and the next song, The End of Heartache, as well as My Curse, all three of them, if you listen to the video, if you watch the video of it, they actually kind of drown out the screaming. Like, I'm not sure. Actually, I don't think they do it in this song. They do it in The End of Heartache. The End of Heartache and My Curse, when they'll have the screaming, they'll overlay it with Howard singing instead. And for My Curse, I really don't feel like it worked as well. But I think it was more like a move to kind of take more mainstream ground, because I know a lot of people don't like Screamo. Can't believe it. I have thought I was listening to the song, and then just a late hour, it escaped me when I went to talk. It drifted out of my mouth. But actually, the more the albums progressed, the more I thought they're not emo, but they're doing an awful good job imitating emo at times. That's why when I talk about Killswitch Engage, I always talk about I prefer Jesse Leach in terms of what he brought to the table lyrically, because again, the guy's done interviews talking about how he kind of tries to breed positivity in his music and doesn't really focus on things like negativity and relationship. There's a little bit of relationship work, I'm sure, but I've noticed Howard's writing style is very much about kind of past relationships and, you know, kind of things not working out. And you look at that, you can look at his band, the band that he came from, him and the drummer Justin Foley, they came from a I think the terminology is mathcore, which is really like a metalcore band that has a lot of the blast beats and a lot of things like that. But their band was called Blood Has Been Shed, and a lot of the songs I've heard from them also deal with things like relationships and love and stuff like that. And while I don't mind those lyrics, in fact, I find a lot of Howard songs that talk about that to be very interesting. And as we get further in, I feel like you can kind of see the guy getting sadder and sadder, quite literally. But I feel like it's a lot easier to do songs like that. I think it's a lot easier to do sad.
I totally thought you were going to say that when you were talking about the name of the band, I totally thought you were going to say the blood was in the shitter.
The blood was in the shitter. Oh, no, it's the bloody stool.
This is the title track.
Oh, that is
the title track in the last. This is the title track in the last.
On that note, speaking of blood in the shitter, here's the end of Heartache.
You know what? You're right. Speaking of blood in the shitter, here's the end of Heartache. That is a great song. It really is. A lot of melody and harmony, and I like the mixing of different vocal tracks. But if I do say so myself, that is not a great song to work out to.
Oh no, it's the same reason why I don't work something like doom metal. I love doom metal.
I had it on a bunch of workout mixes, and I was like, I got to get this off here, because I would listen to it and I'm like, this just makes me sad. I don't want to run anymore.
Well, see, I run in beat. Half the time I kind of match stride with the music, so it just slows me down. Yeah, it's a really good song. I thought this version's a lot better than the radio edit. So please don't die, because the radio edit cuts out the initial guitar part. It cuts out some of the it cuts out some of the guitar bridges. There's minimal screaming. Like, you might hear a little bit of it in the background, but it's mostly overdubbed with singing. And I feel like it loses some of its effectiveness. Like, you know, some of the, as you were saying, the kind of the duality of the singing and screaming that are in this song. It's kind of lost when you just have singing twice. You know, that's the way I look at it. I feel like that was it was an attempt, just like with Mike Hurst, it was an attempt to kind of break into more of a mainstream sort of appeal, just take all the screaming out. And while I feel like the song is still good, this version's definitely the far superior one.
It reminds me of like a Patton Oswalt bit. I know it's the second time I brought that up, but he was talking about how like he hit like 40 or whatever, and he's like I don't hate any music anymore. I really related to this. He's like, I don't hate any music anymore. There's music I don't like, but, you know, 20-year-old Patton Oswalt didn't like something, and he had to tell you about it. He said, it's like, did you know that bands like Nickelback and Creed play that kind of music? No, listen to me. They play that kind of music for just money and pussy, man. It's like, I wish 40-year-old Patton Oswalt had been around to tell 20-year-old Patton Oswalt. It's like, people do terrible shit for money and pussy. I'm pretty much okay with a band just going, oh, the hand, you know, for money and pussy, considering the kind of choices they could make.
You know, that is something I oftentimes do think about, because old Sean Comer, you know, co-host of The Long Road to Ruin, he'll post sometimes about, like, you know, there's no point in hating musical acts or, you know, no point in really talking about how much you hate something. Why don't you just focus on the stuff you like? And I'm like, you know, Sean, one day I'll be emotionally mature enough to do that.
You're not quite well, you're not also 40. You're still in your 20s. You know, I hope that you're out there fighting the man, fighting the good fight. Fighting the fight that all of us, you know, fighting the fight that all of us old people have no interest in fighting anymore.
Well, yeah, because it's kind of past your bedtime when it's time to fight it. Usually, it's a funny thing, most of the bands that I get really annoyed at are, one, because they suck, and two, because they're overexposed. Like a band like Asking Alexandria. Hate that band. I find them to be garbage.
Hang on one second. Go back. Because, like, you use the term over. Can we play another song and then come back to this? This is the title track of As Daylight Dies, from the album As Daylight Dies. come back to the question of overexposure in just a moment, but I have to say, I listened to that song, and you can tell there's a maturity now in the band. Daylight Dies came out in 2006, and I'm sure at this point, you know, they were playing bigger venues. They were a bigger band. Just looking at they were 32 on the Billboard 200. They, you know, all pretty much near perfect to perfect scores for ratings. And like I said, I think at this point, Killswitch Engage had really crossed over and become a headliner act. And you can tell, and that's one of those songs where I don't know if you got the same impression, but that's the one with that song feels like it could play to an arena. Like everything else feels like it's in the dark, gritty club, you know, with bad lighting and, you know, and dirty floorboards and everything, and people are just packed in there. And, you know, we talked about, you know, picking up change and everything else. And then I hear that, you know, As Daylight Dies, and I'm like, yeah, that's their opener as they walk into, you know, a basketball or a hockey arena. And the place is going bananas. Banana.
Bananas, B-A-N-A-N-A-S.
Yes.
See, I'll reference Gwen Stefani. You reference the thing that proves that America, and as well as the rest of the world, is a bunch of mind-rotten dumbasses. God, fucking man. You know,
see what I'm saying with that song?
Somebody posted in the on the internet the other day, you know, I like the Minions in the movies. It's just middle-aged women made me kind of hate them. I'm sure you've seen those memes where, like, it'll have things, like, it'll just have things that could be in any other picture, but they put a Minion on it for some fucking reason.
Have you ever seen the honest trailer for Minions?
No, I need to go watch that.
The honest trailer for Minions actually references the fact that, like, people's aunts and mothers fucking reposting stupid memes that have Minions in it that have nothing to do with the Minions.
Oh wow, yeah, I must go watch this now. But yeah, this song here, it has that build up to it that really does feel like it could start out an arena show, and it also, I feel like it projects. It does. I could see this projecting outward to a large audience. It kind of has that sort of it has that sustained vibe to it, that thing that the crowd can, you know, the crowd can sing along with it. I think one of my favorite metal examples of this is if you watch Chief Rebel Angel by Entombed at the Swedish Grammys. Yeah, because they get fucking entombed at the Swedish Grammys. Take notes, America. And they have dancers and everything. But as like the camera pans across during the song, I was like, oh, this is like an arena-worthy death metal song. Like this song, I could totally see that. And it also has that sort of aspect to it to where I could just see each time the drums hitting, like a certain amount of lights come on, you know?
Absolutely. All right, I want to deal with this issue of overexposure because I think you're full of crap. How is a band possibly overexposed in 2016, where you have all these niche markets and the long tail? I don't understand how. I mean, you can actively tune out of things because of your infinite amount of areas to bubble yourself in. It's late. I'm not explaining this right. But basically, if you want to ignore mainstream pop culture, you can, because every niche now has an unending amount of content. So I don't understand how any band could possibly be overexposed in this day and age.
Well, I've not had the same problem in the past year or so because I no longer write a metal column that requires me to go through every single news article that is posted during the week. Not to mention, I don't hang around my sister nearly as much, and at the time she was about, I think, 14 or 15 and really into a lot of those kind of the scene bands. So I got kind of a constant barrage of that. But I find a lot of those bands to be promoted greatly by their handlers as well as the bands themselves, and then they get over-pushed onto cards like, let's say, Mayhem Festival and Summer Slaughter and even Old Carolina Rebellion, which I do hope to go to. But they get pushed onto those cards to draw in that teen audience, thus making it to where I continually have to hear about and hear those fuck nuggets. Like Suicide Silence, I did not give a fuck about them until I had to hear them, and then I immediately hated them. That was one of the most miserable 30 minutes, musically 30 minutes of my life. That is still one of my favorite stories of all time. You guys want to hear 4 more songs? My friend Josh, while we're waiting in line for a Megadeth autograph, towards the back of the crowd, no! And it was dead silent, so you could hear him going, no! And, all right, we got 4 more songs. And he just screams, God damn it! And everybody, and like half the crowd started cracking up because they were fucking awful. They were really loud, and their singer was a tool, and he ended up killing himself in a motorcycle wreck anyways. So,
as far as bands being tools, nothing beats the singer of Ugly Kid Joe tripping over a speaker opening for Def Leppard.
What a fuck nugget.
All right, well, you laugh at that.
I think my favorite Tool band, by the way, I don't know if you've heard of this band called Attila, but you know those like douchey bro bands that I talk about with all the really skinny, like kind of sort of emo looking kids with all the tattoos up to their necks?
Sure.
Yeah, that is that band incarnate. Like they're all a bunch of skinny white boys with covered in tattoos and do breakdown ridden deathcore that talks about how they're gonna fuck bitches and how they're the coolest people ever. I'm not even kidding. All
right, let's go to the next track here from Daylight Dies. This is My Curse. When Raw originally went to like 2 hours and it became like Raw in the War Zone and they played that song like Thorn in My Eye?
Yes.
For some reason, I mean, that's a badass song. I'm not complaining about it, but it's a little Thorn in My Eye-ish.
All I hear when I hear that song is, give me my purse. Like, all I hear is Bobby Hill kicking people in the groin because he doesn't know you and he wants his purse.
Give a man purse. It's all right.
Have you seen that episode of King of the Hill? I'm sure you have. The one where Hank tells Bobby to take, he's getting bullied at school, so he tells him to go take boxing classes at the Y, but they're filled up, so he takes a self-defense class for women. And he pretty much learns the one thing all you need is, give me my purse, I don't know you, and kicks him right in the balls. So that becomes like that's all I hear is, give me my purse. Like, he ends up kicking the bullies in the balls. He ends up kicking Hank in the balls when he takes his Game Boy, and then he tries to do it to his mother. And she's like, I have no testicles, Bobby. So there you go.
Great.
One of my fucking favorite things ever in television history is Give Me My Purse. But because it's so funny, because like, he can't kick anyone in the balls without saying, give me my purse. But yeah, back to this actually good song. I felt like the song got really good exposure in the Guitar Hero games. It was actually a bonus song in Guitar Hero 3, which reminds me, I almost forgot. The End of Heartache was, want to guess which Guitar Hero game it was in?
Guitar Hero 4?
No, Guitar Hero Van Halen.
Really?
Yeah. Isn't that like the weirdest, like, that is like the weirdest pairing. Like, hey guys, I heard you like Van Halen. Here, how Killswitch Engage? Like, yeah, I love Killswitch Engage. That's just a, well, quite frankly, it's weird. But yeah, the interesting thing about that version of the song is that I think it takes cues from the edited version that was for radio, I guess. That's the way I look at it. Have you ever heard the radio version? No. It's the one that's in the official video. No.
Whatever I saw was on YouTube.
Okay, well, it was the official video of it. But you know how it screams in the chorus that "This is my curse"? It's in that version of it, it's actually sang, and it's like, "This is my curse."
That had to have been the version I've heard, because like basically what I would do is go to YouTube and select a list of whatever album I was listening to, which is then made up of, like, there's a couple of different ways people are uploading stuff to YouTube. You know, individual tracks, then creating a list, and then, you know, you have, you know, definitively this song for an entire album, and it's great. And I prefer that to the other method, which is upload the entire album into one video. Because some of them at least have timestamps, so you can kind of differentiate which song is which. Others don't even have that. It's just one long block with nothing.
Yeah, that could be a pain. Though it comes in handy for me at work, because now that I work by myself most of the time, outside in lawn and garden at Lowe's, when there's no customers around, I just pull out the little store iPod that we have that we use it's a scanner, but it gets YouTube, and I'll just throw on an entire album. Like, what did I listen to last week? I listened to the entire 2-hour Blind Guardian Imaginations from the Other Side concert.
Oh, that's a great album. That is so good.
Yeah, it was the live. I think they called it. It was something called similar to that. It was a 2-hour concert.
You know, you can also listen to on YouTube. You can listen to the last couple of movie reviews from myself and Robert Cooper. Robert Winfrey. Robert Winfrey. We've got a Star Wars review up. We've got a review of The Hateful Eight, The Big Short, and The Good Dinosaur.
Oh, that's interesting. I'll have to check it out. But yeah, it's a 2-hour concert that Blind Guardian did in 2004. They had their own Blind Guardian festival that year, and the crowd is absolutely insane. The song Valhalla, it's usually 4 minutes long. It was 7 because the crowd kept singing the Valhalla. Like, they just kept singing it over and over. Like, they did not want the song to end, so they kept singing for 3 minutes. Even Blind Guardian was like, holy shit. But yeah, it's a really, really good, one of the best concerts I've heard. Unlike the new Van Halen, which my buddy Nick told me, I'm making Josh and Thad listen to the new Van Halen concert. They're begging for me to turn it off. It's torture. It is pure torture. I'm like, well, yeah, Diamond Dave didn't sound that great when he was young. Now he's like, he really needs to go back to being an EMT.
All right, coming this March, we'll be having our 3rd annual covers podcast. This one is covers 3, Army versus Navy. We promised.
Yeah.
We promised we'd do it. We're doing it this year. Fuck it, we're doing it live.
Fuck it, we'll do it live. I'll write the script myself.
We're playing plenty of goofy covers. It'll be a lot of fun. But one cover we will not be playing, even though it's fucking awesome, is this one. This is Holy Diver by Killswitch Engage.
Yeah. I would definitely say that. The one thing I really love in this that finally gets me to bring this random fact up, I don't know if you noticed a little harmonics there, Zakk Wylde-esque. Wow. If you ever listen to their live stuff, apparently they are huge Zakk Wylde fans. Both guitarists are. Adam Dutkiewicz and damn you people and your fucking European names. And then Joel Stroetzel, the 2 guitarists. Yeah, I can't do Dutch. I can do Japanese all damn day, but Dutch, nope. But those 2, like, they'll randomly just go on a wow, wow, just everything just to fucking troll. And this song is full of those pinch harmonics, and it's funny because I feel like it really fits into this 80s song. This is one of my favorite covers, though when people say this is a shitty cover, I understand what they're saying because this is not the same as the original, and they want the original. But I really feel like this is a good job, kind of like what you say, there's no such thing as bad cover. I feel like that's pretty much like, that is supported by this. Like, this is a really cool take on a classic song, and it's really well done. And it's the band actually doing something different, because how many guitar solos do you recall Killswitch Engage doing? Exactly. They don't. I recall them doing like maybe 2 guitar solos, like this one, and I want to say no, Never Again didn't have one either. I wanted to say there was one off of the second self-titled album, but no, not really. So yeah, this song here, actually, interestingly enough, it was not on the original version of As Daylight Dies. It was included as the final bonus track on the special edition, which is, of course, pretty much the first metal album that I was able to buy myself. Well, not myself, but that was pretty much the first metal album I ever got. And then I bought, like, All That Remains and Megadeth, and the rest was history. But, yeah, that was a pretty good special edition because that included a DVD, which I kind of get annoyed at including DVDs at this point because I kind of just want a second CD. Like, The Avenger by Amon Amarth, what was the second disc on that? It was a live version of the album. I was like, all right.
Well, they're trying so hard to keep the CD industry afloat. I don't mean the music industry. I mean the act of selling you a music CD, since everything is going digital.
See, I like having that CD in my hand. It just makes me all happy, skippy, and just puts a smile on my fat little face. But, yeah, let's see. What songs are on that special edition? B1, which was B1's a decent song. It's pretty good. Let the Bridges Burn is a nice one. This album as a whole is really good, though. Daylight Dies, we played that. This is Absolution. I'm not mistaken, that was on your list of things to pick, and I had to get rid of it. But that was a great one. The Arms of Sorrow I feel like, they're pretty much their bigger breakout hit from this album, besides Holy Diver, because Holy Diver, I think, was a really big hit for them. But The Arms of Sorrow, while it's not a very Killswitch Engage song, it's still a pretty good song, and it was effective. I mean, it got them mainstream airplay, well, relatively mainstream. I mean, Fuse isn't exactly 1987 MTV, but hey, it's something. It's something. But this album as a whole, this is a great album. It's by far one of my favorites that they've done. It's really well done. It's something that I like to go and revisit. I revisit it about once a year, kind of like how Sean does with the Mass Effect games. Hell, he played that game those games like three times last year. The man is dedicated. But it's good to revisit every once in a while. I love it. Like a good 4.5 stars or so. Still not my favorite, but it is by far up there. It's the peak with Howard, that's for sure.
It's very well said. All right, we are up to track 13 here. This is from Killswitch Engage's second full-length self-titled album, which came out in 2009. The song itself is called Never Again. Okay. It's getting late here, and I'm starting to fade.
This was, I think, was this mine pick or yours? Actually, I think there's only 3 for this album, but I almost cut it down to 2 because I'll admit this is my least favorite Killswitch Engage album. I was fucking hyped for this when it came out. It came out in 2009, which was like the fucking epitome of my, I will say, my weeaboo status of sorts. And if you're wondering what a weeaboo is, those are those annoying kids that are like high schoolers that think Japan is the greatest place ever, and if it's not from Japan, it's not worth looking at. You know, those people. Like, that was my, like, oh, Killswitch Engage is the best band ever. I love WWE and TNA. TNA is the future. Yeah, like that. Whew, was I wrong? But I was so fucking hyped for this and could not wait. When it came out, I liked it. It was good. I really tried to push myself into liking some of the songs, like Starting Over. I remember you included that. That song, honestly, was just almost too bright. Like, it just felt off. I was like, But this song here, Never Again, is a really good opener. It starts the album off really well. Again, when I was talking about Howard Jones and his just multitudes of sadness, I think he was kind of depressed writing this. I mean, I have no way of proving it. I could have swore I read an interview, maybe with some guy's comment on a metal site. But if you look at the lyrical content in this album compared to the last one, some of this stuff is kind of sad and dark. Like this song here, I'm not going to be betrayed ever again. Well, I'm like, damn. Had a rough day there, buddy? Yeah, it's stuff like that. This song here, A Light in the Darkened World, which I think that's still on here. We'll hear that in a few. But there's still a few love songs. Lost is one that I wanted to include because it was decent. This Is My Goodbye is very ironic because that's the last song Howard ever did with the band. But that's a good song. But otherwise, I felt like this was just a good album by the band. I own the special edition, which has a, per my friends Nick and Josh, they're like, who admit it, those live tracks were shit. I was like, they weren't that bad. They're like, no, Coop, don't argue with us. They sucked and you know it. Okay, they kind of sucked. Like, yeah, this is, in comparison to what we're going to talk about next, the next album, I feel like this is really kind of a low bar. But what do you think? Anything you have to add before the next song?
No.
Okay.
So let's go ahead right into A Light in the Darkened World. That's our last song. Wow, time flies when you're. Well, no, we got a little bit more to do, but we're going to take a break from Killswitch Engage and actually talk a little bit about another side project that you turned me on to, Times of Grace. What was that all about?
Apparently what it was, I remember I had mentioned Adam D, because he goes by Adam D. I think I read that he hurt his back or something, and he was recovering from surgery from it. And he and Jesse Leach, the former singer of Killswitch Engage, they reconnected. And Adam had been writing a whole bunch of songs that became the Times of Grace songs that were played on this album. And honestly, this is if this were a Killswitch Engage album, it would probably be my number 2 behind Alive or Just Breathing. And something really interesting, my friend Ryan Bass, who he said he was going to call in, but it was just not a good night to do so. But we were almost going to have a legit caller. Can you believe it? We almost had one. But he told me he went to the Killswitch Engage show here in Winston last year. Can't believe it. I hate that I missed that. I think that was a show that I thought I had to work, and then they ended up canceling me needing to come in, and I'd forgotten it was that day, so I just didn't go. A horrible person. And now they've closed 3 of the metal venues in this area in the past, 5 months. Fuck this place. Anywho, yeah, he told me that it's a Killswitch Engage
people I work
show.
With. You sound like the people I work with.
Yeah. Fuck this place. But he told me he talked to about 10 of the fans there, and all they could talk about was how they want another Times of Grace album. And I was like, no shit. I thought I was the only person championing this, because I own this album, and it's been spinning in my mom's car for about 2 months. Because when I drive her car, I have about 5 CDs that float in her back seat until she gets pissed off and threatens to throw them out the window while she's driving.
And it's definitely not as heavy as Killswitch Engage, but I mean that's a common thing in metal where these guys do these side projects. Where it's like, I want to let out this other side of me, which is fine. I was gonna make fun of it, and I was like, no, I mean if you're that artist, why does everything always have to be angry? So, they put out Stone Sour or whatever, these side projects where they're allowed to explore other parts of themselves. And Times of Grace was a really pretty album.
Yeah, I feel like it's the way I look at this is what a Killswitch Engage album could have been at the time. This is still a Killswitch Engage album to me because it still has a lot of that spirit to it. There's still a lot of Killswitch Engage in this. It's not quite that. There's a lot more melody in it. It's much more melodic. I feel like theme-wise, it does have a lot of Christian iconography in it, and that's fine with me. There's some of the songs like Willing, which I think I cut that out. I think I did. I might have kept it in, but the acoustic version of it that's on the special edition, it's just absolutely just wonderful, and I can listen to it on a loop for hours upon end, and I have. Just like that time I took Too Many Cooks, which was an Adult Swim special, and has an incredibly catchy theme song, and we played it for an hour straight, and literally four of the five of us in the room woke up singing Too Many Cooks the next day.
Right, let's go ahead and listen to live. Sorry, we're running out of time, so I'm cutting you off here.
Live
this is
and Love. Did you say Live and Love?
Live, live, it's late. Shut up. This is Live in Love. Time That must have been one I picked.
Yep. I thought it was a really good song. Originally, I had Strength of Numbers picked out to go along with my next pick, but the Strength of Numbers was a really, really good opener. It fucking hooked me as soon as I heard it. That and Where the Spirit Leads was another one that really kept me hooked, because both of those songs, along with this one, are really heavy for this album, and they kind of carry more of the weight of it in terms of music, like the musical weight of it, because there's a lot more contemplation in this album. I think that's a good word for it. A lot more ambience, a lot more soft intros. Just, it's a really interesting album, which I guess that'll lead into my pick, and then I can finish my rambling about how much I love this album. So the next track, the one that I picked, was the 9th track on the album, and it's probably one of my most played songs ever. It is called The Forgotten One.
Cracks in my disguise, my flesh a prison with a man behind these eyes. I sing the epitaph for an unnamed king, carved in this tombstone of the lost pieces of me. How far is the distance between you and I? How long before this silence dies? Lost in a sea of sadness, blind in this place of darkness. If I fall, would you be there to raise me up? Or will I be the forgotten one?
It's a really pretty song.
Yeah, when I heard it the first time, I was floored, because as odd as it may be for some listeners here, all four of you,
No, hang on. Have you seen the stats for our shows? Like, people may not listen to it when it first airs, but, like, there are still people listening to our shows from, like, 2014. I mean, like, every day somebody else finds one of our shows. Like, it's one of the more, we're one of the more, in terms of longevity, like, people going back and listening to older shows, we're one of the more popular ones. So.
Yeah, the Woods of Ypres has actually gotten, I think, 200 apiece, or maybe 200 apiece, which I'm like, huh? But by the way, speaking of just people randomly resurrecting things, so my Sentai Rider podcast, I'm totally going to do it soon. We have over 150 likes, and I'm like, we haven't posted anything since fucking October of 2014. Like, yeah, we haven't posted a new episode, and people are like, yeah, well, hell, all the podcasts are dying. I guess might as well join this one. But actually, what was I looking at the other day? Actually, no, I was looking at it today, and I noticed one of our recent reviews actually did really well. It wasn't Limp Bizkit. What did we do after Limp Bizkit? Shit.
The Dinosaurs. Heavy Source.
No, I think it was between the two. Yeah, actually, Heavy Source did a lot better than I thought it would, because I thought nobody would care, and yet we still got like 85 listens. The thing that really makes me cackle about that is still the fact that I had listened and uploaded the wrong album. That just makes me laugh so much, because that is totally something that I would do. It's like, that's how you know you're dealing with quality here. Mr. Dumbass who can't post the correct music. Give me a second here. I'll get back to this album in just a second. Yeah, Celtic Frost, Cold Lake. You remember me and Jesse doing that?
That's right. You guys did that a Thanksgiving show that I wasn't a part of.
124 listens. It's like,
yeah, but if you go back, our Slayer review got, I don't know if you ever go into the archive stats, but the Slayer review actually has a lot of archive hits well after we did the thing. Like, going back, like, Slipknot's got, like, 400 or 500 something, like, archive listens. Like, I'm sure people really care about this. Sorry, folks. But I'm just saying, like, yeah, for whatever reason, people, like, stumble upon our podcast, and we'll go back and listen to our older Metal Hammer of Doom reviews.
So you're saying we might be on to something. That really makes it worth it, though. Like, for every Enslaved or Throssom plot that we get that's like, yeah, here's 60 listens, we get, like, that Nightwish one that was fucking, 300? Or, hell, even that Tomahawk, which is still like...
Which you weren't even on.
Which one?
Nothing has beaten Baby Metal. Nothing on this network has beaten Baby Metal.
Well, I was on it. I just showed up at the end.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because
remember, because it was at the end, and your wife got to tell us all about the how absolutely wonderful the Japanese lyrics were, because she can fucking speak Japanese. Your wife is my hero.
Right, and then somebody commented on my wife's an idiot, doesn't know what she's talking about.
Oh, well, huh. Oh, well. Still my hero, Melissa. Anywho, so the Times of Grace album overall, I'd put it under Alive or Just Breathing as favorite among their discography here. I really feel like it deserves a mention along with Killswitch Engage, because this is, like I said, this is what I looked at. If we never got Jesse Leach and Killswitch Engage again, this is really what I feel like is either A, good send-off, or B, what we could have gotten. This is the way a lot of people look at how Death Magnetic was. What if we had an album in between Injustice for All and the Black Album? That's what they look at that as. This is what I look at. This is kind of like the tail end of what we could have gotten for Alive or Just Breathing. And quite frankly, I fucking adore it. It's a wonderful album. It's endlessly listenable. really good for deep thinking, too. Just fucking love it.
All right, that brings us to our last album here, Disarm the Descent, which came out in 2013. We're going to go ahead and play The Hell in Me. I have a lot of, my thoughts about that one are much like my thoughts about the one we heard a little bit earlier that has that kind of maturity to it, one that you could definitely see opening an arena show with.
Well, yeah, I definitely see the song as something you can open a show, kind of like a good example that's popped in my head, Creeping Death by Metallica. I don't know if they finally stopped using that, but, something like that has a nice bombast to it that really gets everybody going, gets you excited. It was definitely one of my favorite songs off of this album. This is a really interesting album. I think we have 3 songs off of it. This is a very front-heavy album, because I think didn't you review this on 411? Yeah, you did. You did a written review.
Yeah?
I think so. Yeah. That
was so long ago, it's hard to remember.
Yeah, I think you did, because I was going to as well, and it just never ended up panning out. And then we were going to review this on the podcast, and that was, I want to say that was right before the Clutch retrospective or something. Like, things just kind of fell by the wayside, and we had to cancel shows. So I remember the Killswitch Engage podcast just ended up getting booted. Which is really interesting. Yeah, let me check here in a second. Yeah, actually, a side note, I'm looking at our archived reviews. Do you know we actually have 2 podcasts higher than Baby Metal? Real Dad's Parent Roundtable, October 2012. How has that gotten 2,000 archived listens? How?
I honestly don't know.
And then the 4-1 Ground and Pound for UFC 155. Which wasn't that, I think I clicked on.
I understand why that one got so many. but yeah, that Real Dad's one's been high for a long time now. And to this day, I'm like, I have no idea where people were coming from with that one.
Yeah, that's weird. Was 155, I think I clicked on it. That was Dos Santos and Velasquez, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, that was a big fight. But then, ready for it? Baby Metal, 1,554 archive listens. Nightwish, 1,536. That's impressive, especially considering I remember you were not on that podcast, in fact.
No, that was during one of my many hiatuses. No hiatuses in 2016. That's the plan. The plan is to have a schedule of shows, keep to it for the most part, not do like I did last year, which is like go into a mini depression and not want to do shows for a while, or have a child.
Well, that's why we have Jesse, because Jesse is our plan B, not the pregnancy one either. He is in case of emergency break glass. He is
so funny, I think Megadeth or something where he was like, "Oh, I want in on whatever podcast we were doing," and I'm like, "You don't have to ask anymore."
He was like, "Is it okay if I get in on Megadeth?" And you're like, duh.
Well, he is the Hobbit to my Aragorn. He bows to nobody. He wants to be on a podcast. All he has to do is just show up, and yeah, you're on. So no problem. Winfrey too. Winfrey bailed me out of a couple of jams. Like the night that my daughter suddenly got fucking lice, and I could I just do you remember that? That was
I do. Cause I remember
what show that was now.
Was it Longer to Ruin? Or was that
No, that was a Metal Hammer of Doom show. It was an album I really wanted to review too.
Let's see. What have I done? Let's see. The last thing I remember with Winfrey was last one I remember with him was Sabaton. But hold on.
No, that was that was during one of my hiatuses. This is one where I planned to be on, and I had to cancel at the last minute because my daughter had lice, and I had to help my wife wash sheets and shampoo her hair and everything, and there was just no way I could take a time out and all of this and go do a podcast. So I called up Winfrey. I'm like, here, I need you to host. He's always got an honorary spot here, and I'm sure this is way interesting for everyone listening. So here is our best track here. This is The New Awakening.
I found which podcast it was.
Okay.
Hello? It was Dragon Force.
Right. Oh my! And I had been listening to that for a couple of weeks at that point. I was really into the album too.
I went through our. I went through our archive and I'm like, okay, what do I not really remember reviewing that well? Because most of the time I remember what we kind of talked about vaguely. It's I don't remember a whole lot from Dragon Force, and I'm like, I think it was that one, and it was. Yeah, he's our fucking hero. He's one of those when you went on the Exodus, it was him and Sean, and then I would pull random people that I was acquainted with to do podcasts, and then I would just have me.
I know one of the shows was just you talking about death for 2 hours.
It was literally me talking about death for 2 hours, which I'm still pretty proud of that because I felt like that was a pretty good podcast, all things considered. I don't know how Steven Randall does it. I don't know if you ever listen to his wrestling podcast, but he does a one-man show. He'll just talk about Raw for an hour, and he'll maybe respond to the chat. But I'm like, I don't know how this man manages to not blow his brains out 30 minutes in, because I could not. I can barely stand. If I don't have something to talk back on, I'll start second guessing my opinions. But New Awakening. New Awakening that was a really good song. Trying to think, I thought I had 3. Do we not have 3 tracks for this album?
Yeah, we have one more.
Okay, because I thought you said the last one, but yeah, go ahead and play the next one, and I'll just go ahead and sum up everything on this album.
All right, this is In Due Time.
I still love that song. I find myself singing it so much. I even find myself singing it now, like the little girl that I am.
It is a very good song. It's a very cool song.
It's really catchy. That's what I feel like. I think this was the lead single, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was, and you can definitely tell. Yeah. By the way, you did review this album. I knew I wasn't imagining this. But I think you gave it like an 8 out of 10, if I'm not mistaken. 7. Yep, you gave it a 7. I remember being like, I gave it higher. Actually, and the funny thing, I don't know if you remember my top 50 year-in list that I used to do. Like, 2013, that was the second and last time I did it. Everybody was like, in the comments, why didn't Killswitch Engage #1? That was by far the best album. I'm like, guys, I put it at like 36. Really, this is subjective. But this is a really good album. It was really front-loaded. I feel like the first 6 tracks were really the strongest, and they were the heaviest. But I will say that the back half of it was a lot more experimental. Let's see. Always is a song I almost included. That's just one of those songs. I feel like it's I'm not going to say it feels like a remnant of Howard Jones, but I feel like it's something that you can play. You can play to your girlfriend, your wife, your buddy, your cat, whatever. It's just a song about how, I'm going to be with you always, no matter what happens, I'll be with you somehow. And I'm like, that's really sweet. And it's a really nice song. I find it really well done. This album was stupendous. I felt like it was a real return to form, and it definitely gets a lot of spins in my car. That is for sure.
My experience with kind of going through the entire catalog in a very short period of time, I would say the band, I think, functioned well in terms of maturing, experimenting, trying new things while still having a central sound that they were loyal to. Like I don't think they up and became a different band. I don't think they quote unquote sold out or got too mainstream or whatever. I really think that they followed in a lot of the patterns that many of the bands did during that time, which was they started out more guttural and angry, and you could feel that spirit of youth, and then as they got older and more mature, so did the music, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Because, I think, what was I listening to? I wanted to say, I was listening to NPR on a drive the other Monday night, talking to David Bowie, of course. Rest in peace, David Bowie. And you too, Alan Rickman. What the hell? Well, fuck you, 2016, you bastard. I'm going to blame you for killing Lemmy, too, even though 2015 did it. It's close enough. Assholes. Anywho, it was talking about, as you got older, rock and roll is inherently a young man's sort of rebellious genre, And when you find yourself getting older, and a lot of the statesmen of the genre start getting older, do you ever find yourself kind of, wondering if you can keep making this music that's obviously meant for angry young people, or maybe change? I don't remember his answer, but I remember it was a really interesting question to ask, because it's something that I've thought about. If you look at a band like Metallica, they don't play, they don't write Hit the Lights anymore. I mean, maybe they write Hit the Lights before 10, but they're not exactly right. That was I was really proud of that one, actually. I'm still chuckling.
Hit the lights, we don't live in a barn.
We don't live in a barn. That is exactly fucking something my mother would say. She'd be like, "Were you fucking raised in a barn? Hit the lights." I mean, it's stuff like that. There's a certain point to where talking about how the man is like, bullshit, and how, you need to come and take up this nation. It gets to be where you can't really sing about that as much when you are. Well, I always go back to what my
10th or 12th grade teacher said about Def Leppard. When Let's Get Rock came out, if you listen to like the lyrics of Let's Get Rock, it was really juvenile. It was like, take out the trash, no way, man, And I remember as a kid, like, I was a huge fan of Def Leppard, and I was like, oh, that's really, I'm like, this is great. I love this song. I love Let's Get Rock. It's so funny. And my teacher's just like, seriously, they're in their 40s and they're singing about like not wanting to take out the trash already. Come on now.
Somebody was talking about, I don't know if you've been watching Raw very much, but how Chris Jericho has turned into that uncle that's trying to be cool and hanging out with your friends. Like he showed up. He showed up with the new. I love Chris Jericho, but now he's trying to get over some really dumb chant of Rudy Tooty Booty, and it got over about as much as a Concrete Glider, or for further example, as that incest angle with Paul and Katie Burchill. That was funny.
Terrific.
Yeah, you don't remember that one? Yeah, it lasted a week. Because apparently Vince McMahon has always wanted to do an incest angle, because that man needs to retire. But anywho, I would say that you are correct on the band. They kind of started out young, hungry, aggressive, and I feel like they kind of went along that path that a lot of bands end up taking, to where they, just like you said, they kind of evolved their sound, but I feel like they did what some bands don't, and they kept that core sound there. And they still managed to kind of try new things and evolve in the core sound that they had. That's why you'll get songs like Lost and Always, and even The Arms of Sorrow. I couldn't see 2001 Killswitch Engage writing something like The Arms of Sorrow. Something that was kind of slower and, something that was more based on a relationship. Granted, it was because they changed writers, but, it's just, I feel like the same point kind of stands. But while they're not my favorite band anymore, I feel like I grew out of the genre as a whole, because I feel like the metalcore genre as a whole was built around teenagers in the 2000s and their tastes. And I'm no longer a teenager in the mid-2000s. And while some of the bands like Shadows Fall, Trivium, I feel like Killswitch Engage still really hold up well, other ones like All That Remains, like, I listened to A War You Cannot Win when I was still writing for 4-in-1. And I remember that album, I was just like, this is mediocre. And then then All That Remains came to Charlotte a few months, I think it was like 2 months ago or so. Had the night off, everything. And a friend of mine, he had messaged me the week before, and he goes, hey, do you like All That Remains? And I told him, they're okay, I don't mind them. Who's playing with them? And it was bands I don't really give a shit about, honestly. So I said, I'll think about it. Let me see if I can get the day off. I did. And let me look at the set list. They played 4 songs from their first 5 albums. and 3 out of those 4 were from The Fall of Ideals, which is, I think, one of their best. Their best. That was their fucking tippy-top magnum opus. But the other one they played was 2 Weeks, which is a good song. But they didn't play anything from their first 2 albums. And I'm like, you're no longer the All That Remains that I liked, which is okay. I am not the person that is paying them money. To a certain degree, I kind of feel like, just like you were saying, they're doing this shit for pussy and money. Okay. To a certain degree, I can respect that. Now, there are certain other bands that I find just kind of, I get tired of them. Like, what was it? In This Moment. Don't like that band. Why? Because, again, I felt like there was an overexposure problem because, well, yes, you are correct that mainstream culture is easy to avoid when you are in the niche culture of a heavy metal site, and all they post about is 3 goddamn bands. You get kind of tired of them.
That's fair.
Which is actually really funny. That's how all those memes get started. Like, I don't know if you ever noticed the metal sites are always like, what is Corey Taylor's opinion on blank? Or here's what Kerry King thinks about blank. So every fucking column, somebody comments, so what does Kerry King think about this? Or unless they're interviewing Kerry King, he's like, I wonder what Kerry King thinks about himself being interviewed. Kind of like how on ESPN they wouldn't shut the fuck up about the Golden State Warriors. Could they beat the 95-96 Bulls? So now every fucking comment on ESPN's page has but can he beat the 95-96 Bulls? Like Johnny Manziel is getting booted from Cleveland.
My friend called me earlier and he was like, we were just talking about like the troll culture, because there are people now who are bashing Star Wars movies just to be contrarian, just to be trolls. And it's like,
I don't. Those people make me really, really mad. Like, almost in the way that, like, I know you're doing it because you think it's funny and cool, and you're like, Star Wars just wasn't that good. You look at it artistically, it's just not that great. I'm like, okay, let's look at a movie like Creed. Ray should have died in the first scene. It's just like, it's going to slap the shit out of him. Ray should have died in the first scene. I don't understand how she could fly the ship so well. Like, I just want to take out my dick and piss all over you. You deserve to be mushroom stamped, sir. Like I know the Cinema Sins that channel is a joke. Like, I get the joke.
Oh,
the
no,
joke
that's funny. I mean, if you got to see their Cinema Sins of themselves, they fully understand that it's a parody website.
But people have taken that mindset that they started, well, not started, but they really kind of highlighted as a joke, and fully ran with that. And it's just,
Where something
really
that something that started out clearly as a joke has become like an entire subculture. Yeah, this is
like
also why I don't.
Aspiration.
But this is also why I don't frequent like Reddit or anything like that. Like I don't want to be part of that culture. Says the guy leading a podcast. So all right, shows coming up in the near future.
Podcasting. We're propping up a dead art.
Woo! All right.
Woo!
That makes me sad.
Well, then I'm right.
Yeah, kind of. All right. Well, anyway. I don't care that it's dying. Whatever. So on January 28th, which I believe is 2 weeks from today, we'll be reviewing the new Megadeth album, Rob's favorite band, Megadeth, Dystopia. We'll be back. Now, if you're wondering like why some of the dates are like really weird and screwed up, it became a matter of when albums were coming out, trying to get the shows closer to when the albums were coming out, if at all possible, plus alternating with Long Road to Ruin and some other stuff that's going on. So here are the dates for the Metal Hammer of Doom from now until April. We have Megadeth Dystopia on January 28th. We have Avantasia Ghost Lights on February 18th. Anthrax for All Kings, March 3rd. We have our Covers show, Covers 3, Army vs. Navy, March 17th. The new Baby Metal comes out on April 1st, WrestleMania weekend, by the way. So we'll be reviewing it on April 7th. And then some other ones that we'll be doing throughout April, May, and June. The new Amon Amarth, the new Killswitch Engage, and we'll be. We didn't get just Lemmy died, and it was we weren't able to get ourselves organized quick enough to do a retrospective. We had planned to do this Killswitch Engage. I didn't want to put it off because Robert has had to deal with all. Robert has been forced to do whatever I wanted to do for like 3 years now, so I feel like I owed him one.
Well, hey, it's all good because, well, technically, yes, you did make the schedule this time. Well, except for Megadeth and Killswitch Engage. I mean, really, it's a bunch of stuff we like. Like, okay, Anthrax, duh. Like, so, have you listened to anything from the new Anthrax?
Yeah, it's good.
I don't like this is going to sound like really nitpicky. It sounds weird. Not as bad as the new Megadeth, which I'm liking the new Megadeth. I don't like the vocal mix. It makes Mega Dave sound mega bored.
All right. Well, I haven't heard any of it yet. I haven't heard any of the new Megadeth. I've heard a little bit of the new. I heard a little bit of the new Anthrax, and I liked what I heard. Maybe I heard a better mix than you did. I'm just waiting for all the stuff to show up on Spotify. That's what I do. Any case, so that's what's coming up in the near future. I hope you'll join us for that. We're gonna go out tonight on a little bit of Killswitch Engage that we talked about before. But before I do, Robert, any last caresses, any burning desires?
Last caress. Let's see. For myself, check out the Cooperative Multiplayer page on Spreaker.com. I kind of don't show up on it anymore because it's Mark Morrison and John Garmer, and they usually do it like 2 p.m. on a Tuesday or something. So I don't get the invite anymore, but really I'm kind of flaky anyway, so it's all good. And check out the Wrestling for the Max podcast that Sean Garmer and his buddies doing. They review Raw, NXT, TNA, Lucha Underground, and New Japan, as well as wrestling news. It's like a fucking 3.5-hour podcast every week. Those fucking guys are the champions, I swear. They're awesome. So yeah, check that out on their Facebook page, Wrestling to the Max, or find them on Spreaker at I think it's Wrestling to the WTM Network. And then finally, speaking of podcasts, the Sentai Rider podcast, your own for all things tokusatsu, considering we're like almost the last podcast standing, considering my favorite podcast, Dan's Toku Rants, decided to hang it up, considering even though they had 10 members, like, the main host is kind of getting married and shit. So, your college project on the thing you love kind of goes into the closet when you have a full-time job and are getting married. So, they've kind of hung it up. All the other tokusatsu podcasts have kind of went by the wayside. So me and Hunter are, like, almost the only people left, which is funny because we're still like a couple of fucking assholes that make poop jokes half the time. God, we are wonderful. So find us at Facebook at facebook.com/Sentai Rider Podcast. That is SENTAIRIDER podcast, because I'm going to catch up on Kamen Rider Ghost, goddammit, and we're going to review it. And then once we review it, I'm going to fall behind another 16 episodes. Woo!
Behind.
That is.
Since I speak behind, one more plug real quick. A couple more plugs. One, did you enjoy us talking about heavy metal? Want to hear me talk about how I used to go dancing to 80s music? Well, David Bowie died, and look at awkward transition that was. David Bowie unfortunately passed away this past week. My wife, Pat Mullen, and I did a tribute show on Monday celebrating the life and times of David Bowie. We did it kind of like we do the Metal Hammer of Doom. We played a song, told a tale, played another song, told a tale, rinse, repeat. despite the fact that we were mourning the man, it was a fun show. It was a good listen. We played a lot of his early stuff, a lot of his Thin White Duke period. Some Ziggy Stardust stuff. Nothing really new. Because the stuff that I knew was all the stuff they played, when I would go dancing, and this is we're talking the late '90s here.
So you weren't exactly picking up change at these shows, were you?
No, I was not picking up change to dance Magic Dance.
You were picking up chicks. Picking up chicks.
And we had a delay, but we should be ready to go. Crossing fingers. A week from tonight. The long road to ruin is finally going to be back, and I promise I'll be a lot more excited once we actually get there. And we'll be starting things off with bang, the biggity bang. Andrew Graham will be joining us as we talk about the Lord of the Rings trilogy. So that'll be fun. We've got Lord of the Rings, we've got Hobbit, we've got Shaft from the old Shaft, not Samuel L. Jackson.
He's in Lord of the Rings.
We've got Beverly Hills Cop coming up, and then in March we've got Madagascar. We're going to look at those movies, and then finally the week of when Batman Superman comes out, we'll be looking at the animated Dark Knight Returns movies, both of them. So we got a good couple of months coming up on the long road to ruin.
So you're making Sean sit through Madagascar.
Oh yes, sir. Circus, circus, circus.
Polka dot afro. Fucking goddamn circus afro.
I needed an animated series for when Zootopia came out.
Oh no! I think you should open the Lord of the Rings podcast to the song "Lord of the Rings" by Blind Guardian. Just saying.
Maybe I might. So all right, enough screwing around here, Robert. It was a pleasure. But Happy New Year. I'm looking forward to this year. We are organized. God damn it, we are organized. I'm not going to get to the summer and just start telling you, you know what? I don't care. Do shows with Jesse. I don't want to do it anymore. I swear to God, I'm committed this year to doing shows when I schedule them.
All right, well, I will hold you to it. And by hold you to it, I mean you're going to say, I don't really want to do the podcast today. And I'm going to be like, wait, we have a podcast today? Oh, shit, Mark, we're doing it.
Here, I've uploaded the completely wrong album. Go.
Oh, you know what the problem was with that album? It was in fucking Finnish. I can't read Finnish. But yeah, I have interesting.
I never learned to read.
No,
all right, folks.
I can't read Finnish. I'm sorry. I can't really finish the job actually. So all right, folks. For Mark Radulich, for Mark Radulich, I am the Metal Coop, Lord Master of all heavy metal. For the Mandated Reporter myself, I thank you for listening. Keep the metal faith alive. Be well, be safe, and behave. So, now we're going to play This Fire Burns, which is the 14th track off of the As Daylight Dies special edition, and the theme song for one, Philip CM Punk Brooks.
You weathered the storm. Let us help you through the aftermath. We're Project COPE, caring for our people in emergencies, and we provide access to recovery counseling for families, groups, and individuals, as well as connections to food support, housing services, and more. You are not alone in this. Building resilience begins here. We have resources to help you cope, so you never lose hope at COPEFL.com. This initiative has been brought to you by the Florida Department of Children and Families. Do
¿Tiene pensamientos intrusivos e impulsos no deseados que interfieren con su vida? ¿Está cansado de tener que realizar rituales o acciones que requieren mucho tiempo? Si tiene TOC o si cree que puede tenerlo, hay ayuda disponible. Actualmente se está haciendo un ensayo clínico en su zona que está investigando un posible medicamento nuevo para tratar el TOC. Para más información, visite el sitio ocdtrials.com y vea si reúne los requisitos para participar.